All right. Are we live? Yes, we are live. Okay, then. Greetings, everyone, my followers of darkness, shadow scavengers, and villainy aficionados. Welcome. Welcome. Bienvenue. Get around. I'm your host, Loro Shadows, and welcome to another live review. Man, I was waiting to review this show ever since ever since it started. I really couldn't wait until it finally finishes so I can give my overall thoughts about it. Like a show that basically represents the beginning of an era, which of course, I think you guys already seen it, which of course I'm talking about Creature Commandos, the first chapter of a brand new James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC universe. Oh man, this is a show that a lot of people were I would say, I'm not gonna say some of them were excited, some of them I would say for this particular show they were interested to see kind of what this Creature Commandos is going to be all about and everything, but if you're going to make a comparison between Superman and Creature Commandos, I would say a lot of people are more excited about Superman than Creature Commandos. But overall, I'm here with you guys standing and saying that this show, I will tell you right now, it is phenomenal. This is literally a good start for a brand new DC universe. I mean, what James Gunn cooked with the show, it was just simply absolutely mesmerizing. Absolutely mesmerizing. I don't know, where can I start? From the characters, the story, the emotions, the humor, this TV show for me personally, it delivered as a completely magnificent start for a brand new DC universe. Now, one thing I have to say for everyone who's watching who have not seen the show so far, this show right here is not made for kids. Okay, I will tell you right now, it is not made for kids because there's a lot of stuff in there that nope, definitely not for kids. From rated R. I will call this show hardcore R for me personally. But anyway, let's begin. So basically, now to kind of basically to kind of give you a premise to overall Creature Commandos. So basically, the first season of Creature Commandos is basically you have this team of monsters that Amanda Waller basically activated through Rick Flag Sr. Because after all the Peacemaker fiasco, season one, and all. Basically, she basically took out a bunch of monsters with Rick Flag Sr. going to Pakistan to basically to save a princess in distress by the hands of Cersei. But of course, throughout that journey, there are all sorts of mysteries and twists and turns that are happening throughout the entire season one. So, but basically that's kind of the overall premise. So let's start. So basically, this show, the characters, from the Creature Commandos to Rick Flag to Eric Frankenstein, Amanda Waller, this show is filled with so many characters. And I will tell you right now, each and every one of them have their moments. Each and every one of them have time to shine. And I will tell you, I literally cannot choose which one is good, which one is bad. For me personally, all the characters, I love all the characters. Some of them I wouldn't say. I will go a little bit in the further on, but some of them I hate. Some of them I hate, but in a positive way. And a lot of them I love. Every single character was fantastic. In the show, they had their place. Everyone was really well done. With moments and everything. Now, one of the things people will ask me about Creature Commandos, especially a few of my friends when they saw the trailers, what is Creature Commandos? Basically, now basically what I usually tell them is Creature Commandos is basically a Halloween version of Suicide Squad, basically, in which in Suicide Squad you have humans, aka real supervillains. Creature Commandos, basically a gang of monsters doing missions for the government. Although in the comic books they were more active throughout World War II, but in this one, we have the Creature Commandos in the present time. But overall, when it comes to the overall characters, I loved every single one of them, from like the good guys, the neutral guys, to the villains. Every single one of them, are great, from the main ones to also a few like cameos and surprises and like minor supporting characters as well. Like I mean, I'm telling you, like this show is full of characters, full of characters, and every single one of them was done beautifully by James Gunn. I mean, he wrote all 7 episodes, so of course you're gonna get the whole like golden galore when it comes to like shows like Creature Commandos. Now, I want to specifically talk about the Creature Commandos themselves. Now, first and foremost, like some of the like choices for like being members of this team. At first, they kind of surprised me. I mean, with except first and foremost, like with Rick Flag Senior, being in this. By the way, if you don't know, the father of Rick Flag Jr., who unfortunately was slaughtered by Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad. But basically, from Rick Flag Sr. to like Dr. Phosphorus and the Weasel. Oh my god! Like some of the choices, I was like, okay, because when it comes to Creature Commandos, I'm usually I'm used to always like seeing the Bride, Nina Mazursky, aka the Mermaid, GI Robot, Eric Frankenstein. Then of course the Mummy and the Gorgon, Werewolf, those kind of characters for like for Creature Commandos. So I was kind of interested to see like what kind of characters they've put in this time. Which in this case when it comes to James Gunn. And I will tell you, like for me personally, even though it's a surprise, every single one of them worked perfectly. Now, when you have a story based on a team, like in this case Creature Commandos, like in almost every single team, if it's like the Suicide Squad or Secret Six or like Justice League, Justice Side of America, or like any sorts of like group, the one thing you're always interested, how is the chemistry between the characters? And I will tell you, like the chemistry between all of them was brilliantly written. Like I love the relationship between the Bride and the Mermaid, Nina Mazursky. I mean, I love Dr. Phosphorus, like with the Bride, with the Weasel, GI Robot and Nina. The overall connection, the overall chemistry that the Creature Commandos have throughout season 1 is just simply beautifully written. Every single one of them, for me personally, were done right. From every single one of them, and again, those are characters like those are characters that you think like are you gonna be interested in them? Are you gonna love them? But I will tell you, like I love every single one of them. But if I have to choose between all the Creature Commandos, I'm kind of like a tie between the Bride and Dr. Phosphorus. Those two are kind of like my top favorite characters in the Creature Commandos, But the one thing for certain, when it comes to like the overall main characters, the main star of the show is definitely the Bride, and her character throughout the entire show was done really well. Like I mean, the one thing I will say this, I just want to say right now, the one thing I'm really happy for James Gunn with James Gunn, I'm really happy that he didn't give her multiple arms. That's the one thing I'm happy that he didn't do, because like even though I know that in the original comics she didn't have like multiple arms, but but basically they added the arms like later on. So I'm really happy that James Gunn stick to the just 2 arms formula, and that's it. But even though with the Bride being kind of like my favorite character alongside Dr. Phosphorus, I would definitely say, I mean, I totally agree with James Gunn that the heart of the entire team is Nina Mazursky. She is definitely the main heart and soul of the team. I mean, like basically, like seriously, you have like from like super villains to like from super villains to corpses to robots to like beasts. Nina Mazursky, which of course is typical when you have like teams. Nina Mazursky is basically kind of like this balance that keeps like all of them together, in a way. But again, like I mean. Also Rick Flag Senior. I mean, usually like when it comes to DC Universe, they usually use like Rick Flag Junior, kind of like the leader of this particular government teams. But in this case, I will say this, like Rick Flag Senior, I really liked him in Creature Commandos. I really did. I really did, liked him, in Creature Commandos, like the overall, kind of like the alpha, basically, of the team and everything. Although, to me personally, I would kind of say the alpha is the bride, but okay, whatever. As the alpha of the team and everything, I really liked him. I felt like Frank Grillo did a really great job voicing him and everything. Now, of the other characters, I also have to mention before I go to a specific one, that kind of like I was really kind of happy to see is Amanda Waller. I really, I really liked what the James Gunn did with Amanda Waller in Creature Commandos. Not just simply like showing her is like she always was kind of like this like stoic, hardcore, cold as ice, like a government woman, who kind of like basically keeps everyone on a leash. But in this show, what I really liked is that the James Gunn showed a side of Amanda Waller, which is not something that you would usually have in the comic book, in the DC universe, basically. So I'm kind of glad. So I'm really glad, that he kind of showed that side of her character as well. Now, one of the other characters I have to also talk about, because again, the show is filled with them, but is of course Eric Frankenstein. Oh my God! I mean, I know that the Bride and Eric Frankenstein in the comics, they have like a very, I would say, complicated relationship. Let's put it that way. But in this show, holy shit! Like their relationship is not just simply like complicated. It is twisted. It is psychotic. It is creepy. It is stalkingly. Like like seriously, like he brought the relationship between Eric Frankenstein and the Bride. Like James Gunn brought it to a totally another level. Which for this show, for a show like that and a world like this, it works. It actually works perfectly. And Eric Frankenstein. Oh my God! Like this guy. Like this is a character. As I mentioned a few minutes ago. This is a character that you will love and hate in the show. Like you're gonna hate him, but you're also gonna love him because he's absolutely hilarious. Like he's literally like like a man child, on steroids, who basically has like not simply anger management issues, but like emotional issues as well, and basically kills everyone and everything that gets in his way, I mean, it's crazy. Like this character is like a pure psychopath. Basically, and the overall obsession with the Bride that he had and everything, it's like absolutely like it's almost like Gaston and Belle, like 2.0, basically, or I would go as far as say 3.0, not 2.0. 2.0 is a little bit lower, But anyway, of all the characters here, like including the Creature Commandos, I mean, like again. Just like the James Gunn gave him with the Suicide Squad, like I loved everything about him, like the chemistry, the relationship, teamwork, taking care of each other, the overall balance between like the seriousness and humor and emotions and everything is just simply great. But again, those are characters that trust me, a lot of people will be shocked, that they actually care for them, they actually like them and everything, because all of them are like literally like the worst of the worst, well, almost all of them, not just simply all of them. Now I know a lot of people will think like where is the princess or Cersei? Well, I'm going to talk about them a little bit later. From now on, let's just stick to Creature Commandos and the other characters, which in this case are Rick Flag Sr., Eric Frankenstein, and Amanda Waller. Although, by the way, I just want to say this, that also John Economos was in the show, and I tell you, like I love these little moments that he had in the show. I really did. I really dig it, like especially like between Amanda Waller and John Economos, like So it was really kind of cool to see him in this one. Now, with besides Creature Commandos, the characters and everything, I had to talk about the voice cast. I mean, this show is filled with so many crazy cast members. I mean, like from like the Bride, from like Indira Varma voicing the Bride, from Alan Tudyk voicing Dr. Phosphorus. Then you have, I think her name is Zoe Chow, who is doing the voice of Nina Mazursky. Sean Gunn, returning again as the great, Weasel. I can still fucking believe that that this show made me care about Weasel. I really don't. But anyway, Sean Gunn, voicing G.I. Robot and Weasel. Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. David Harbour voicing Eric Frankenstein, and of course the legend Viola Davis, as Amanda Waller. Now, besides them, I will say this: Of course, you also have Maria Bakalova, I think that's her name, last name, as the Princess Ilana Rostovic, and also you have Anya. I'm going to butcher her name. Anya Anya Chalotra or Kalotra or something. Okay. Anyway, I'm deeply apologize if I butcher her last name. But she's the voice of Cersei, and I have to tell you, if James Gunn is following that rule with some actors, they're gonna voice the same characters in animation, they're gonna play them in live action. I really cannot wait to see Anya as Cersei. Oh my god! By the way, if you don't know who she is, she's the witch from The Witcher. And again, what she did with Cersei is fantastic. Anyway, now concentrate to the main characters. Like every single member of the voice cast did for me personally, a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job, not just simply from Indira, voicing, the bride, but like Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. Like, I mean, don't be wrong, like all the voice cast here were great. But for me personally, the one that really surprised me in this one was Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. I mean, what he did with his voice performance is on a different, is a totally a different level. I mean, I know, Alan Tudyk also is one of those actors who kind of created his career in voice acting, but this is on our level. From the serious tone to the humor to the emotional moments, Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus, he was magnificent. Now, of course, Shin Gunn, the brother of James Gunn, as Weasel and G.I. Robot, he was also great in those roles. Although personally, even though he was great as Weasel, I actually preferred him more as G.I. Robot. I actually liked him even more as G.I. Robot, but the way how he talked it's been so long since G.I. Robot put Nazis back to hell. The way how he delivers some certain lines. Oh my God, he's just simply phenomenal. Now, so, and again, and Frank Grillo, I mean, playing the usual, military badass, like he usually does in the movies, which of course is no surprise here. Viola Davis returning as Amanda Waller. I mean, come on, the one thing I will say only about her that she is Amanda Waller. She is Amanda Waller. Again, Zoe Chow, the way how she portrayed the Nina Mazursky, the softness of her voice, the overall emotions that she has shown through the character, it just simply, sometimes at times she made my heart melt. Basically, the way how she voiced Nina Mazursky, it made me love the character even more, because again, the Creature Commandos were never characters that I would kind of I ever 100% cared. I mean, I heard of them. I've read a few of the issues and everything. So, and I know a little bit of the characters, but overall, this show really made me love them even more. And of course, I mentioned before the bride. I mean, she, the way how Indira voiced her, bringing that stoicness, stubbornness, a little bit of humor, cockiness, into the character, making her, literally making her a total badass. It was just simply mesmerizing. Every time that the bride spoke, I just simply I was just simply be quiet and just listen to her, because she did an amazing job as the bride. Now, the one thing I have to talk about is David Harbour as Eric Frankenstein. Oh my God, this guy! I mean, in every single project, David Harbour is like Stranger Things or Black Widow or Violent Night. It doesn't matter. Every single fucking role that he does, he makes me laugh. He makes me excited. He makes me laugh my ass out. And he did exactly the same thing with Eric Frankenstein. I mean, from the serious moments when he's angry, when he's emotional, even when he's like a crybaby, or over emotional, or when he's talking bullshit, or when he's talking funny. David Harbour, oh my God, literally, everyone else, he brought this character to life. And even though, like I said, Eric Frankenstein in this story, he's like a love-hate type of character, but man, I just this is the type of character that I would just love and hate, really. Now, again, when it comes to the overall story, of Creature Commandos. As I've said it before, like the story basically, like I said, Amanda Waller, hires this like monsters, this Creature Commandos team, under the command of Rick Flag Senior. They go to Bokolistan, to try to save the princess from from Cersei and the what they were called, the Sons of Themyscira, basically, and that's basically kind of like the premise. But the overall story, and again, when you have James Gunn writing a story, of course you're gonna have like twists and turns and revelations all over the place. Of course, the story is not gonna go the way how even the trailers will show you, because that's the way how James Gunn usually works. Like he's really smart when it comes to, and tactical when it comes to like what to show, what not to show. Because this story, like even when you read the premise, you think like okay, I got it. It's a very simple story. Cersei's the main villain and everything, la la la. But then James Gunn comes and he's like, you know what? Hold my beer. I'm gonna make this story so complicated, so puzzled up, that everyone will be like, what? So and that's exactly what what this story was, because like again, this story, like again, it explores not simply the overall characters, but like the overall relationships with like with other characters. Like for example, one of the other things I loved about Creature Commandos is of course the relationship between Eric Frankenstein and Rick Flag, which is absolutely hilarious. Also like with like all sorts of like flashbacks explain the origin story of all these other characters, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. The overall world building, not just simply again for Pokolistan, but like the overall like DC Universe world building. It's just so great. It is the way how James Gunn wrote the story. I mean, like it's just simply like it's mind blowing. Literally, like you think like where the story is gonna go, but then like all the way till the end, nope, it's definitely going in the opposite direction, because like that's how James Gunn does. He always brings like with twists and turns and revelations that you will not see coming. Some of them you might in the Creature Commandos, some of them you might think that they're a little bit predictable, but trust me, the way how James Gunn maneuvers his stories, trust me, like you're gonna get lost a few times. But the overall story, I would say it's kind of like I'm not gonna say it's simple, but it's like very easy to follow. Again, with everything that I said about James Gunn and his writing, it kind of feels like, whoa, wait a minute. You're saying it's easy to follow, and then before you said like like James Gunn does a lot of the crazy shit that you kind of know where it's going. Yes, I know, I understand what I just said, but like without like throwing out everything else, the story is in a way kind of like simple, because like from like a rescue mission, it turns out into more like like a conspiracy theory. So you kind of say like the overall season 1 is basically kind of like split between like rescue mission and conspiracy theory, or just simply solving a conspiracy, basically. But the way how James Gunn brought these two elements together, it just simply great. It makes the show really flow like gently, with no worries, no like red flags or anything. So the story overall, even though it kind of again it might sound for some people simple, but for me personally it's simple, but again at the same time rich. And one of the other things I also have to mention is that just from like the very first thing with Creature Commandos, like we already are kind of like spreading this shared universe thing. I mean, like we because without even going like deeper into the spoilers, like for example, like there are like some connect references to like the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and also something that connects with Superman. I'm not gonna say what it is, but like something also that connects with Superman. But also, and at the same time, also kind of like building this overall DC universe, which I'm gonna talk about a little bit later. But it was kind of cool, to really kind of like expand on like kind of like immediately with Creature Commandos, they're already kind of like expanding the overall DC universe, which I think it's a really great thing. But again, I was not expecting to have this kind of like references to, like I said, this is the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, mostly through like Rick Flag Senior. But when you watch it, but if you have watched the show, or if you're gonna watch the show, when you get to that part, you'll know what I mean. If you have watched, of course, if you have watched the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. But it was kind of, but again, as a shared universe, it was kind of cool, to have all these, references. One of the other things I just have to say, just in general about Creature Commandos, like one of the other things I also want to share is the action. Oh boy, the action in this show is crazy. And when I say crazy, I'm talking like 90s Spawn with Legends of Vox Machina and Invincible crazy. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Like, I said at the very beginning, this show is not rated R. It is hardcore R, because like the action sequences and the violence is like so gory at most of the time in the show that I was like, a lot of times I was like, what the shit? I was like, whoa, I was like, whoa, like what the hell is going on? It's crazy, But again, if like I said, if you have seen shows like I said, Invincible, Legend of Vox Machina, Spawn, like if you have watched this kind of shows, you're gonna get used to it, But again, the action is all over the place, and again, when it comes to an overall animation, pretty well choreographed. Now, one of the other things, of course, when you talk about James Gunn, is of course the humor and emotions, and this show is filled with humor from like certain characters, from certain like supporting characters, from like certain like moments and references. Oh my God, this humor is filled with it. I mean, like if I would say like of all the characters when it comes to like Creature Commandos, I would say the humor is mostly surrounded through like Eric Frankenstein and Dr. Phosphorus. I would say those two for me, with a little bit of GI Robot as well. Like those three characters for me are kind of like the overall center of comedy, because like almost every single thing that those two characters said, it is just simply bonkersly, for me personally, funny. Now, of course, when it comes to overall humor, some of them land perfectly, some of them land okay, with just a little, little bit of a giggle and everything. Now, other thing, this Creature Commandos is also filled with emotions. I'm telling you guys, like when it comes to the overall emotions, you guys are not prepared for this, because like through like certain flashbacks, origin stories, and what is happening, like in the present time, there's a lot of serious moments. There's a lot of emotional moments. Like, trust me, you're going to need a full package of handkerchiefs when you're watching Creature Commandos, because like some of them will really drop your balls off. The way how the show is filled with emotions. I mean, I can definitely see why James Gunn said that this is like one of the saddest things he ever written, especially the finale. I mean, I can see it now, after I watched all the 7 episodes, but anyway, like this move, again, humor and emotions, they again perfectly landed when it comes to like Creature Commandos, like overall style and everything, but anyway, again, filled with humor and emotions. As I'll say it again, prepare your handkerchiefs, because you're gonna see a lot of emotions in this show, believe me. Now, this is something I mentioned before, that which is one of the reasons why I didn't went too deep into the characters of the Creature Commandos, because this is something I had to discuss like separately. Now, some of you guys, if you have watched Creature Commandos, I want to give you a contest. Which of the Creature Commandos backstory is the most fucked up, traumatic, dramatic, tragic, and twisted? Because I don't know which one to choose. Now, I will say this: when it comes to the overall origin story, I would say the weakest probably is GI Robot. He's even though it's pretty interesting the way how he is explored and everything, sure. But I would say when it comes to, like I said, trauma, drama, twisted and tragic and tragedy, I would say like GI Robot is the lesser one who has like this kind of like moments. But oh my God, Nina Mazursky, The Bride, Weasel, Dr. Phosphorus, I don't know which one had the worst. Again, I don't want to go deeper into their origin, but trust me, every single one of them will make you feel like you've been shot with a bullet straight through the heart. Because like, oh my God. I mean, I knew James Gunn when it comes. I knew that he's gonna give us like some like pretty sad, tragic stories about almost every single character. But I never thought it's gonna be like this heavy. I never thought he's gonna take me like so heavy by surprise. Jesus, I mean, like James Gunn. I mean, some of them I was like, okay, James Gunn, maybe you kind of went a little bit too far, with some of them. But I'm gonna tell you, like, oh my God, there's no. I mean, now I can definitely see there's a reason why they are who they are, especially when it comes to the Bride or Dr. Phosphorus or even Weasel. But I would say, like, out of all the, I would definitely say when it comes to the origin stories, the most twisted one is definitely Dr. Phosphorus. I would definitely his origin story, I would say, is the most twisted, the most tragic. I would say Weasel, and the most saddest. I would say is Nina Mazursky, and heartbreaking, I would say, is The Bride. So throughout these kind of like categories, that's how I would describe their backstories, their origin story, without kind of like going to the spoilers, because I'm really trying to stay away from spoilers, because this is a show that really you guys have to experience. It really does. But I will tell you, when the backstories start, believe me, you are not prepared how heavy they are. Trust me. But again, James Gunn, the way how you wrote him is absolutely amazing. And he absolutely works. It actually works. No matter how hard and tragic and sad and traumatic and crazy they are, but they work. Absolutely, they work, especially now. I will say this. I mentioned before, this show really made me care about Weasel, because the Weasel's backstory also has something to do with like what Rick Flag Jr. said in the Suicide Squad about like his crimes, why he was in prison and everything. Also, Dr. Phosphorus's reason why he went to prison, it caught me off guard. I'm not gonna say what it is. Trust me, it's a really big surprise for anyone who didn't watch Creature Commandos, of course. But if you watch this, then you know what I'm talking about. It was just a few seconds, but the way how it was done, as a Batman fan, as a geek, a nerd, whatever, it made me feel joy inside my heart. Like, seriously, I'm not gonna say what it is, but I'm telling you, it was really well done. Again, so the overall origin stories of these characters, they're so screwed up now, which kind of makes me wonder. Now, by the end of now, there's a little bit spoiler-ish, but by the end of the Creature Commandos, we're gonna have new recruits joining the team. So if James Gunn went so far with these characters, I'm kind of curious to see what the fuck he's gonna do with the other three. They're gonna join the team. I may now I may mention who they are, but again, I don't want to spoil the surprise for you guys, especially the ones who haven't seen the overall like show so far. One of the other things I have to talk about is the expansion, and I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about like the DC Universe expansion. Now those are the characters that I wanted to show because they were shown in the trailers, but there are other characters. Trust me, in this one, there are plenty of them that I didn't want to show because it's very heavy, spoiler heavy. But one of the things I love about James Gunn, which I was talking about, like even when I was talking about like the references and everything, James Gunn with Creature Commandos, he already started to build this shared universe of DC, by introducing so many different characters, even though some of them short-lived, but okay. But the way how he introduced some of the characters, like from characters in the background, minor characters, flashback characters, like present characters. Oh my God! Like for example, I knew that Rupert Thorne and Clayface, they're gonna appear in in Creature Commandos because I've seen them in the trailer, and I would tell you the way how they were used in the show, I would say it was done in a really good way. But man, I knew Rupert Thorne was a dickhead in the Batman the Animated Series, but man, like the James Gunn made him so evil in this version. Man, whew, like it made me hate the character of Rupert Thorne even more, even though I knew that from the beginning that he was a dick. But this, whew. Also, Clayface, the way how they used him through, like I said, some like twists and turns, it's really well done. It's really well done, and I really cannot wait to see. Hopefully, I cannot wait to see more of Clayface, which of course, I know we're gonna get a Clayface movie, but this is gonna be an origin story, not like Clayface in the present time, or maybe he will. I don't know. Now, the other two characters I also want to mention because again, they were shown in the trailer, so I can talk about them. But like, I never expected to see these two characters. I mean, like when it comes to GI Robot's backstory, I've seen some screenshots about like certain members of a team that was active in World War II that is part, and their leader is, well, I mean, without beating about the bush, is Sergeant Rock. So, but still, I was surprised to see him, in this one, which is kind of cool, because Sergeant Rock was always like one of those very underrated and like left in the shadows type of like DC Universe characters, because basically if anyone doesn't know who he is, he's basically a soldier who was active during World War II in the DC Universe. That's basically it. Now, the other character, I will say this, that was really surprised to see him as well, was Will Magnus. By the way, if you don't know who he is, Will Magnus is the scientist who created Metal Man. A team of artificial intelligence like / robots, which are actually kind of pretty cool. Now, seeing Will Magnus in this, I will say this, especially like that scene that he had with G.I. Robot, that definitely means one thing, which of course is that the Metal Man group is coming. Oh, they're definitely coming, So it was kind of cool to, to see him as well. Now, I said before, there are a lot of other different cameos in Creature Commandos, especially in one big shot. If anyone's seen the trailer or the shows, or the show itself, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But again, it's spoiler heavy. I don't want to mention them, but I will tell you, you're gonna be blown away how much cameos there are in Creature Commandos. Which is pretty cool. I mean, James Gunn really, with the expansion, he really started big with this one. And of course, now I'm going with this. Now, I mentioned before why I didn't put Cersei and the princess above with the rest of the characters, because this is something I want to talk about separately, which of course is the two main villains of Cersei, of Creature Commandos. Now this is already kind of spoilerish, so be prepared. So be prepared. I mean, if you don't want to hear the details, you can leave right away. So, you know what? I'm going to give you 10 seconds, guys. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you left? Okay, drum roll, please. The princess herself, Ilana Rostovic, is the main villain of Creature Commandos. And the way how it was revealed in the finale, I was like, wow, like this came out of nowhere. I mean, there were some theories and suspicions about her character and everything, like who she is, where she comes from, like what kind of, is she a villain or not? Especially after a certain vision that happened, so there was, already some people already kind of started thinking like maybe she is a villain, maybe she isn't, or maybe she was like mind control. Nope, she is definitely a villain. And oh my God, and her characters, Jesus, like, wow. I mean, the things they do with her character in this one, and again, she's supposed to be like an original character. And again, what James Gunn did with her, it was like, I would say impressive. I mean, if I have to categorize her as a villain, I would say the princess is basically the mastermind who manipulates everything and schemes in the shadows, basically. Now, I don't want to throw away Cersei, okay? I don't want to throw away Cersei. Now, at the first part of the story, yes, Cersei is kind of like, the main villain of the first part of the Creature Commandos Season 1 story, and I have to tell you, even though she doesn't appear that much in the show, every scene she's in, for me personally, she fucking stole it. She fucking stole it. She was absolutely great in every scene she was in, like from like the beginning, like the fight that she had with the bride, she was absolutely amazing in that one. The way how James Gunn, everyone showed her powers, throughout the show and everything. It just, I was like, that's the Cersei I know, So she is absolutely great, the way how she's treated in Creature Commandos. And again, Anya, like, the way how she voiced her character, the Cersei's character in Creature Commandos is absolutely, fantastic, and I cannot wait to see Cersei played by this actress in live action, because because the way how she voiced her character, and knowing of course how much range the actress possesses, I cannot wait to see this version of Cersei brought to life. I cannot wait for this. But overall, again, going back to the princess, and again, the way how they revealed it, I would say, without spoilers, I would say the way how they revealed it is basically a mixture of like Sherlock Holmes and Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot, a little bit of Miss Marple, alongside quick draw at the high noon. And that's basically what I'm gonna say. And then the way how again it's delivered, it was pretty cool. Like I said, mostly, like I said, especially through the Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot, and Miss Marple way. It was kind of like almost kind of like a detective story, which was, again, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. But the one thing still, okay. So basically, I mean, they revealed in the show that she was behind everything. The overall, that she was this mastermind and everything. But there's still a lot of questions that I have that weren't revealed, in the show. Because my theory right now, because like again, she is basically for what they've shown in Creature Commandos, she's basically part of this world domination type of operation. But again, I'm saying it right now, like she's definitely not working alone. Because like they didn't because the question that I was asking myself, why she wants to rule the world, why she wants to start World War III, why she's doing what she's doing. Because I'm sorry, I know she has an army of like mechanical knights and everything, but her alone, there's no way that she can do a world domination. However, my theory is that she perhaps might work for someone or with someone. Now, again, there is a scene in episode 4 that is big, really big. That kind of will give all of you guys like a bigger picture, like about the princess and everything. But overall, I was happy the way how they did her character, kind of like, making this like, twist and turn revelation, that she's like from a good guy, she's a bad guy. Although personally, I'm not a big fan of those kind of villain revelations, but, it was cool. The way I was done, it was cool. Which kind of brings me to this. Holy shit, 42 minutes. Wow. I mean, I knew I was gonna talk about a lot about this. Now, final thoughts. Again, as I said at the beginning, this James Gunn with this show, he made a really great, first start, or should I say, aperitif of what is going to happen in the future of DC universe. I thought, but still, I thought it was a great start. I loved all the characters, the chemistry behind the Creature Commandos, Rick Flag and Eric Frankenstein, the action, the emotions, the humor, the villains, the action sequences I mentioned, the overall animation. That is one thing, I want to say about the animation is that, again, it just made me happy to see more and more of this 2D type of animation. So overall for me personally, the animation, I mean, sometimes it was a little bit iffy, but overall I would say 95% of the time the animation was great. No negativity about that. The story, like I said, was a little bit, kind of sounds a little bit simple, but even with everything that James Gunn threw, I was completely satisfied with it. I would say, like, out of all the things, I would say my only complaint I would say about Creature Commandos is that the finale perhaps felt a little bit short. Kind of like, they were trying to wrap it up as fast as possible, or as fast as they can. So that would be my only complaint. Even though for me personally, I would kind of see that like a nitpicky thing, but like I would say, like the finale was a little bit rushed, but still, they could have made it a little bit longer. And also, even though again with James Gunn, you're gonna get amazing soundtrack, that's for sure. But in Creature Commandos' case, there are a few times where the soundtrack was not suitable, in a way, especially during the explanation of why, of the crazy relationship between the bride and Eric Frankenstein. I want to say what the sequence is, but like the soundtrack for that, it's like, I mean, it's a cool song, but not very fitting, But again, I kind of get it what James Gunn was going for with this one and everything, So overall, besides like the story feeling a little bit simple and also the overall season a little bit like short, and again, sometimes the soundtrack not going the way how it should be, like and all that. Besides that, I really had a blast with Creature Commandos. I really had a blast, in general. But man, James Gunn took me by surprise about like the origin stories of all the characters. Man, like it really hits hard. It really hit me hard. So overall, with the rating, I mean, I'm gonna give Creature Commandos a solid gold 9 out of 10. Yeah, I think 9 out of 10 is well deserved. The reason, again, why it doesn't get a 10 out of 10 for me is because of the soundtrack not being, okay sometimes. Because like the finale was a little bit like fast forwarded and everything. It could have been a little bit longer. So besides that, like that's the reason why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. But still a pretty great badass TV show. Everything about it for me, I went out, so to speak, completely satisfied. Absolutely. And I will say this, I'm really happy the Creature Commandos got green lighted. I'm really happy that they got green lighted for a season 2. I really cannot wait what James Gunn is going to do with season 2. Even though I can assume we're not going to see season 2 pretty soon, because with Superman and everything going on, I don't know when it's going to be released. But overall, with everything, what I've seen the finale, I cannot wait to see what it's going to be all about. Although one thing I'm certain is that, by the way, I just want to give you guys one more thing. There is one post-credit scene in Creature Commandos. That's one thing. Second thing, no cliffhanger, so season 2 is definitely going to be fresh. And with that, I'm done. Oh man, 46 hours. This must be like the longest review ever they did so far. Overall, again, I had a blast with this show. I mean, I could have talked a little bit longer, but then seriously, I could talk about Creature Commandos like hours and hours, but I was trying to be as short as possible. But again, really had a blast with it. I cannot wait to rewatch it again. Maybe my point of view will change, but so far what James Gunn did, it was just simply great. It was just simply great. I was completely, satisfied. One more thing I just want to say, the intro is pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of that Saturday morning cartoons, like back in the early 2000s and in the 90s. Although this is definitely not a Saturday morning cartoon, for sure. But the intro kind of reminded me of that. Pretty cool. So overall, guys, here I am. I'm done. You guys know the drill. Comment, subscribe, drop me a like. If you guys have watched Creature Commandos, give me your own personal thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you thought about the story? What did you thought about Creature Commandos as a team, all the other characters? Which one of the members of the Creature Commandos is your favorite? What did you thought about the villains? Everything about Creature Commandos in general in the comment section down below. And until then, stay tuned for more videos next week. And like always, Lord of Shadows signing off. Oh, before I see you guys, I just want to tell you that unfortunately this Sunday the Shadow Council episode is going to be delayed because of personal problems I have and everything. But don't worry, doesn't mean it's going to be canceled. So see you guys next time, and as always, later, fuckers.